Welcome back to the Bullpen Podcast, where we dive into real conversations with local business leaders about what it really takes to succeed in business. Today I'm joined by Erkan Danis, founder and CEO of Cargo Cycle and AMEC, a mechanical engineer who's rethinking how cities move. From nearly 3 decades in the automotive industry to designing electric cargo bikes built right here in Minnesota, Erkan's mission is simple but powerful. Make hauling smarter, make business leaner, and make cities cleaner. We'll talk about innovation, entrepreneurship, and what it takes to build something truly made for the real world. Erkan, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Drew. Appreciate you guys. And I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's just jump in. Let's get started.
Right.
You've been in the automotive industry for nearly 3 decades. What first drew you to creating something as different as Cargo Cycle?
Well, with the background from AMEC Consulting, the automotive engineering company that we have, which we created in 2019, I worked in this business, in this vehicle testing and engineering field since 2011. And back then we were very involved into, developing and also like lots of quality assurance project within the automotive in this testing field, especially for the design, user interface, user experience, materials quality overall. That we already have some kind of like an eye for aesthetics and quality and feel and material and lines and design and everything. And I was always a huge design fan. Car design is always something that I was into. The idea on why we created the Cargo Cycle was because we moved in 2018 to the US, and back then we know from Germany and Europe that we used a lot of like cargo bikes. We know that, so we have that all around, and we wanted to have one of them here in the US as well. But we couldn't find any company here in the US where we thought like, what, but this is what I want. There are some companies, back then it was not that popular, not that much as it is right now, but it was like, well, that's the design that I want. So the reverse trike, where the 2 wheels are in the front and 1 wheel in the back, and it should have the basket in the front. And we ordered one from Germany. It was very difficult to assemble together, to put it together, and it came without the battery. Because of customs clearance, because it has to be an electric cargo bike.
Okay.
For that reason, I needed to somehow figure it out where to get the battery and make it fit to that cargo bike that we ordered back then. Somehow it worked out. Everything was fine. And then, once we had our kids going to the park and going to grocery shopping, and everyone was asking like, hey, what is this bike? Where does this come from? Like, where did you get that? Like, so many people were asking for that. And we said, you know what? My wife and myself, we looked at each other and said, like, you know what? I'm going to build my own bike, but the way that I want it, because I'm a car guy, because I'm very into design and lines and very, very specific and very difficult sometimes, but it had to be my style, my design. So that's where the idea came up with to create this cargo bike.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing story. And I mean, you talked about kind of that approach to people coming up to you saying, where can I get one of these? Was that kind of the aha moment, so to speak, to understanding, wow, this is really something that could become a real business rather than just, I'm solving a personal problem for my own cargo bike needs?
Exactly. It's actually both. My personal problem was ordering overseas something and need to take care of myself for customs clearance and need to take care of the battery assembly, and people asking for, where did you get this? Because I need this for my family and for my kids too, or for my dog, or for grocery shopping, for elder people, whatever. There's all of the data and all of the information and feedback that we got back together. And also for myself, like, why are not here in the US companies that, has this type of a bike here? Back then, it wasn't that popular. Now you see, cargo bikes all over the street, like almost everywhere, but it's a different concept from ours. So, that made me think like, okay, It needs to be a business.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked about it a couple times already too. Just the background in cars and clean lines being a very a nice emphasis of something you really pay attention to. You talked a little bit about how that background really lends itself to kind of this strategy. But is that kind of where you said, all right, I can really do this, rather than just say I have this idea and I can do it? But was that background really helpful in kind of designing this from really the ground up?
Absolutely. I mean, the design phase was multiple sketches and drawings and inspirations online, and and also from the car industry. I don't know if you're able to show the bike yet, but I mean, I have one here in front of me, sitting in front of me, but it's like when you have the car theme is very specific because car people would probably see it on the bike because of this lower stance, fat tires, carbon wheels, all like aesthetics around the curve, around the front wheel, overall design, and being the more of a bike, actually different than a bike, is something that has influence from my automotive background. And yeah, design is a huge thing. And we, as already mentioned, for the vehicle testing engineering company, we did evaluations and durability testing for some parts and on how you would use certain materials and certain design versus engineering in real life. Not all design works also in real life because it's very difficult to manufacture, very difficult to engineer. So you need to find the balance and compromise it. Like, okay, I really want to have this design. I want to have a lower sitting frame to the floor, but then I really need to think about clearance on if I can use this bike in certain areas in certain environment. So this, back and forth, and all of that was with me, challenging with me myself, being the engineer
Hmm.
and the designer. Is like, okay, well, I can get rid of that, but I don't want to get rid of my aesthetics. And then when I get rid of my aesthetics, well, okay, how does that work with the engineering part? It was a huge process, but it was very interesting the last 3 years now.
Yeah, I mean that's a great segue kind of in just a little bit about product design and innovation, kind of balancing those needs between, all right, here's the design aesthetics I want, but here's what actually is going to be needed from just a practicality standpoint. What do you think were some of those biggest technical or design challenges, I guess, that you faced when building your first prototype?
So the overall challenge was, since we wanted to build everything made here in the US, the overall challenge was to find local shops and manufacturing facilities to build the actual frame. Combining all of the components that I wanted to have for the bike, because we wanted to use the Bosch motor. We wanted to have like the high end, like NDO internal gear hub, like detector brakes, the carbon wheels, the Gates belt drive system. We didn't want to have the chain with the derailleur in the back. Very like high end components. In order to match it and combine it together was a lot of measuring, and making it fit to a frame was the biggest challenge. The rear frame was a huge headache to find the right people that are actually able to weld this frame for us. All of the engineering is everything is in-house. We do that by ourselves. But the actual build and the welder, obviously, we work with a local shop here in Shakopee, where they built the rear frame for us. So that was the biggest challenge. And then the front box compartment. That was a huge like circle, like back and forth. First, we thought, okay, we want to use 3D printed materials, like the process for that because of prototyping. But then at the end, we were like, okay, so we need a giant printer for that because it's a huge front box. Then
Hmm.
we thought, okay, there are industrial 3D printers. They are out there. We worked with one company out of Tennessee that they actually built or printed one box for us. That was huge. That was great, but it was too heavy and also very expensive to build. Cost and, for prototyping, it's fine, but for overall, for the end customer to have it built into the overall bike, it's a huge cost topic that we need to figure out for manufacturing. So we had a lot of, back and forth for the front box as well. So now we found a solution for that. That's working out pretty well so far.
Awesome. Yeah. And like you mentioned too, there's a lot of, from when you started, maybe not so much movement, I guess, let's say in that, in your specific industry, but now, like you said, there's a lot of kind of people trying to do similar things. But what really makes Cargo Cycle different? And I know you've touched on it a little already, but how do you kind of continue to set yourselves apart and to maintain that quality and excellence that you've talked so much about already?
So first of all, everything is made here in the US. So we are not dependent on overseas and shipping and
Hmm.
maybe whatever tariffs will happen or another shutdown for whatever reason. So everything is made here. We are not dependent on actually anyone except for us, except for the parts that needs to get delivered and needs to get put together, obviously for the motor, for the hub and for the brakes. But those are all available here in the US. So this is the advantage plus the overall functionality and the concept. I think it's easier um, to use this bike because, again, like already mentioned, there are other cargo bikes, especially the one with the two wheels and where they have the basket in the front. But they are good for what they are, but they are not made for everyone because once you get to a stoplight, you need to balance and all that stuff. Even with those there where they have like the swinging arms that you don't tip over, it's still good, but it's those bikes are very pricey. So they are over 10K, where I think like, well, wow, that's very expensive for a bike. And ours are under 10K with the highest and high-end component and the design and an overall package that you get for this is like what I think it's unique. Yeah, based on the functionality and the design. Obviously the aesthetics is different and the usability is way easier to to use. I don't know. Do you say that?
No, that's perfect for me, and I think it just based off of a lot of what we've talked about already. But let's jump in a little bit to some business strategy, some market insight too. But Erkan, I mean, Cargo Cycle serves both families and some potential commercial clients. I mean, how do you balance building two different user groups like that?
That was also a very interesting challenge. Well, actually, two stories behind that. We wanted to create something that is modular. So it is always the same rear frame. It is always the front base part for the front box is always the same. Some components will always be same. The only difference between the industrial version and the lifestyle version is the front box and its design. So we want to keep it modular for us for manufacturing, that we have always the same base. But if the customer decides to choose online with the configurator, well, I might use it for industrial, but I actually wanted to use this for my family and my kids. Then you decide online what type of front box you want to have for your bike. So that makes it easy for us to only concentrate for the mounting parts. So we designed and engineered that way that you can use the whole base frame for both applications. But that idea came up in the middle of an expo that we wanted to visit in Austin, Texas for the Electrify Expo, where we wanted to showcase two of the bikes, initially the lifestyle versions. But then we had troubles with delivering some of the parts for the lifestyle version. For the second bike, the first bike was done, but the second bike was not done, and we thought like really like last minute, hey, why don't we build an industrial version for that? Then we have one lifestyle version for the expo, and the second one would be the industrial version. Until then, we didn't have the idea of industrial, and was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, let's build it. Let's have two complete bikes there. One is the industrial version. The second one is the lifestyle version. We finished that and then showcased that, and the feedback from
Uh,
those expos was like, well, that's a great business idea for my hot dog stand, for my gardening, for my
uh,
toolboxes, for the warehouse, for all of the applications. We're like, well, okay, now we have an industrial version. So the
mhm.
main idea was the lifestyle version. And with that being, that moment where we were not able to finish the second bike for the expo, the industrial version came along.
Wow, that's a really interesting, I mean, almost like happenstance, just
Yeah.
kind of out of necessity for the time, and that makes a lot of good sense, and it kind of leads me into my next question too, just talking about going to expos and doing a lot of different things like that. But as someone who's both a founder and an engineer, how do you divide your time between building the product and also building the business?
It's that's a difficult one. Um, obviously more time and you more energy and sleepless nights. And I'm trying to manage as best as possible as I can, obviously, and jumping from one call to another. Some days are like really like back to back. But most of the time after the kids go to sleep, I still sit on my computer and do all of the stuff that I wanted to do or had to do on the computer
Mhm.
only without having the shop next to me. So it's time management. Also, like, drive that we have for this passion project is like, somehow makes it happen. That's a very basic answer to that.
No, I mean, it's as simple as it needs to be, and it's just, yeah, time management and, kinda understanding just, what it takes to really get something from an idea to off the ground, and kind of in keeping with that spirit, on the flip side of, potential adoption, I mean, do you think US cities, I mean, especially Minneapolis, St. Paul, very big, cycling bike culture in the Twin Cities, but do you think other US cities are ready for a real shift towards cargo bikes as part of everyday transport? Or are we still kind of just mainly the early adopter stage?
Yeah. I mean, we did the research in the very beginning. Like, is there a need here in the US for that? Not because of me wanting to have this bike for myself. Also, like, is there really a need? How does the market look like? Where could be our target market? And there's indeed a huge market for it. And also, like, going up all the way, especially like the dense areas, dense cities, Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, New York. Minneapolis has a great bike infrastructure, and people are using bikes. And now, way more often than 3 years ago, cargo bikes, especially because it's an alternative. I don't have to use all the time my car if I want to go grocery shopping. Lunch and Baileys from my place is not that far away. I don't want to take the car all the time if I just want to have like a little grocery shopping. So, and it's also, I enjoy being outside, drive outside in the park and being outside with the kids. And this is a great way also for myself to enjoy my bike. It's not like only for utility and I can use it. It's a tool. Well, it's also a design piece for myself, and I enjoy riding it. Not only myself, but the target markets that we see, there's definitely need for that, for sure.
Yeah, and kind of keeping, yeah, expanding on that too. I mean, the mission statement I know says, "Not every job needs a van, and not every load needs four wheels." What impact do you hope that that mindset has on cities, not just right now, but 5 to 10 years into the future, or even beyond?
Back then, the last mile delivery is something that wasn't even a topic. But now with all of the other brands, especially last year, is like Amazon. There's a truck, Rivian, and all of the also right now, which is also a huge company based from Rivian, is something that everybody understand that there is a need for that. That they also built like cargo bikes now too, and all of the other brands that we know came up like out of nowhere within the last year is something that people consider this. It's not like always a van. It doesn't have to be always a pickup truck for those needs.
Yeah, kind of moving into another section here, just talking about leadership and just some lessons you've learned
My
over
God.
the over your time as an entrepreneur and an engineer. But you've now built two companies, AMAC and Cargo Cycle, and a third still in the works here, as very recently developed. But through all of your ventures that you've had over your career, what's one main leadership lesson that's carried through all of them?
Probably you heard this a lot. It's all about the people that you have on board. It's all about that. Of course, you do your interview rounds, you do the circles, and you do the onboarding, and you really make sure that you have the right people on board. But also, from my perspective, for myself, my expectation is, well, I hired you for this one, and I'm not expecting more from you. That's really the key thing for you to understand. Well, some people are capable of doing more, and you see they are growing within the project, and you think because you have those interactions, they can maybe do more, and they are capable of doing more, but not everybody is made for that. And don't expect as a owner that people can do more because you didn't hire them to do more. You only hired them for that specific thing, and don't expect more. If they do, that's great for you. That's a good catch then, but it all comes down to the people, because in my other company and this company, I found out that having the right people on board is actually the key to anything. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to know all of the stuff, but at least you need to know a little bit of each section in each department of your company, those things are going. And that those people that you work with in your company are capable of doing this better than you because you hired them for that reason. That's the key take that I have for myself.
Yeah, that's great, and I think there's certainly a lot to be said about just having the right expectations and being not just realistic, I should say, but just understanding the right tack to take when you're trying to build something that you really, really care about. That kind of leads me to my next question, too. Just what advice would you give other founders who are trying to turn a personal problem or a personal kind of concern into a viable business?
Well, first of all, it should be something that you really want to make, you really want to create, and you have to at least. I'm probably very difficult in this because for myself, I like until to my bare bones, I don't like to be independent on someone else. I just don't like it. I really want to be able to, if I am not able to, if I delegate something and that person is not able to do this in time, I should be able to do that by myself, even if it's for a short period. I need to be able to make that by myself as well. So I need to know every department in any company that I have. I am capable of doing that for myself too. Either it's the CAD modeling, either it's the 3D printing, or the designing, the engineering, the assembly. I can do everything by myself. I can do it. Technically, I know I wouldn't need anyone else, but that's not efficient because I cannot be
Hmm.
everywhere all the time. The same as with the social media, the video editing, the how to create those accounts and when to post and how does social media works. This is also that I understand and can do by myself as well. So for any business owner, I would highly suggest to not being always dependent on everyone. Sure, again, you have to have the right people on board, and maybe sometimes you have to have maybe um, a smarter person for your business in your business that take care of your business, but not being fully dependent on someone. I wouldn't recommend that because it might happen that persons, personal reasons, they're off for a certain period of time or not available anymore, or you go in pathways, whatever. You need to be able to, operate the business by yourself as well. I think that's the most important for any founder.
Okay, yeah, and that's really interesting. One more here for you, Erkan, before we decide to close this episode of the Bullpen out. Just looking ahead, what do you think is next for Cargo Cycle, and what kind of future do you envision for urban mobility in the U.S.?
So first of all, very important for us is sales. We need to.
Hmm.
We're done now. We're done with testing and creating and validating and durability and whatever. Everything works. Everything is fine. We're alive now, and we need to get sales. So that's the next thing that I cannot do. So I need people that can help me with that. Is something that we need to establish as quick as possible now because again, this is a family business. Everything is funded by ourselves. We don't have any investors, anything else. It's a true family business where all of the money goes into this business. Now it has to be the next step to to sell those things. That's the main goal for now. But overall, yeah, I mean, we're in conversations with some of the companies and some local shops in our target markets. Hopefully soon there will be something happening where we can display some other bikes. But yeah, the next goal is actually to start sell the product as quick as possible.
Awesome, awesome. Well, no, that's fantastic, and I think certainly a really cool product. Anyone listening or watching today, please go check out Cargo Cycle. I think Cargo Cycle MN they're doing such a good job, and I think a lot of the products are looking really, really cool, and it's just it's an amazing thing that it looks like it's going on the website and going out to customers now. Thanks to everyone for listening. That was Erkan Danis, founder and CEO of Cargo Cycle, a company proving that not every job needs a van and not every load needs four wheels. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow the Bullpen Podcast for more real stories and strategies from local business leaders who are changing the way we think about work, leadership, and innovation. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep pushing forward.